We the lazy declare that we will recline when we feel inclined. And yes, we feel inclined.
We answered our kids' questions all day. It's our time to prioritize, no priorities.
Why?
Because
We put in back-to-back doubles. So now we'll be putting in extra OT right here.
We've checked off our to-do list.
Now we're checking off our to-don't list.
we the lazy are taking back lazy.
By getting comfy on our Lazy Boy furniture.
Lazy Boy. Long live the lazy.
Time, weather, and
How you doing, everybody? I'm Chief Meteorologist Denis Phillips. Heat, still the hot topic of weather conversation, right? Just smashed the previous record for rainfall in Tampa. It's still a very nice day. We've got some clouds out there, even a couple of sprinkles as another front rolls through the area. Most of us wake up to sunshine and then very warm temperatures in the afternoon. Our temperatures, they're going up and they're staying up. Really nice forecast, especially if you're planning on going to the beach or the pool. Rain chances very slim. Another beautiful day in store. It's going to bring us a very high chance of storms. Some isolated showers across the area. Mother Nature likes to remind us that it isn't set by a calendar. We're always on it for you just in case things begin to pop.
Streaming from the ABC Action Weather Center in Studio A, this is Denis Phillips Live. Sponsored by Lazy Boy Furniture Galleries. Long live the lazy.
How you doing, everybody? Tuesday evening edition of Denis Phillips Live. We have got lots of stuff to talk about in terms of things that are planned over the next several weeks. We'll do our hellos first. We'll talk about some hurricane expos that we're going to be a part of, our Stormwatch special, our meet and greet this Saturday night. Actually, this Saturday afternoon at the Crooked Thumb. It's in Safety Harbor. Google the address. Typically, in years gone by, we have lots and lots of people show up. We will have new Rule Number 7 merchandise, tumblers, mugs, whatnot, that you can get without having to pay shipping fees through Etsy, which can sometimes be an arm and a leg. We all know, I've seen that myself, because every time we order, we got to pay the same thing. And so we will have some of those made by ourselves, ready for us as well. And not to mention, we're going to have a huge gift basket raffle. So Ryan's softball team is going to be there, and we're going to have a big basket with gift certificates and coolers and hurricane prep stuff and Rule Number 7 merch and Rule Number 7 beer. It's all going to be part of that gift basket that we will be raffling off later on that evening. So I guess we'll figure this out. I don't think you have to be present to win, because people come and they go. So we'll go ahead and have that between like 3 and 6 o'clock. Anyway, it's 3 o'clock on Saturday at the Safety Harbor, Crooked Thumb, and we'll be in there until 6 or 7-ish. It runs technically from 3 to 5, but we always end up staying later because there's always a lot of people. And I love to meet everybody and get a chance to chat, and hopefully a lot of y'all will be there as well. Anna Maria, how you doing? As always, first in. Jules, good to see you. We've got Bridget back from her Toto concert of the week. Where did you go? Was it Arizona or Arkansas? I can't remember. You went to one of those places. And Dora, good to see you. Anthony in Newport Richey. Ren, nice to see you. Prudy from Spring Hill, as always. Say hello to your lovely daughter for us. We have got, they always come by our house for Christmas and look at the Christmas lights. Nowadays, when I go out, it's just as many people say, hey, we come watch you at Christmas and see your Christmas lights and your fundraisers as watching on TV or on DPL. I mean, Christmas, well, you guys know that is part of my persona. I am Clark Griswold. The good part and the bad part. The part that gets angry and frustrated when the lights don't work, start kicking the stuff, that's me too. I admit defeat many times when putting that stuff up. Sally in Largo, Jane in Manatee, Dominique in Newport Richey, Ryan, nice to see you, my friend. Mary in Lilman, waving right back to you. Ruskin's in the house with Maya, Palm Harbor. Wanda is here. Thank you for repping my hometown. Karen in Homosassa, and good to see you. Erica from Pinellas Park. I see that name. It always brings me back to my college days. It's a different Erica Kearney, but I dated an Erica Kearney when I was in college. Steve in Lakeland. Norris in Spring Hill. Dave, good to see you. Dunedin's in the house. Teresa, how are you? Rosemary, nice to see you. Terry in Brooksville. Abby. Sherry. Marianne in Clearwater. Another Sherry. How are you doing, Sherry? Paradise Coastal Manatee. Minutes to the turquoise water and white sandy beaches of Anna Maria Island. Jan, that is a beautiful, beautiful introduction. How are you? Teresa in Spring Hill. Karen, good to see you. Steve, blue hoodie, no tropical storms. I am really seriously considering getting a green one, a red one, and a yellow one. Blue doesn't even fit into the color scheme. But I really am. I think that would be very funny. Red if we have a storm coming close, yellow if there's a watch, and green if all's clear. I'm really seriously thinking about getting that. That was a great idea. Someone said that on Facebook today. Kay, how you doing? Watching from the pool. Nice. What's your address? Well, I'll come join you. We've got Carrie. We do have T-shirts already, Ashley. T-shirts are up. If you go to the top of my Facebook page and you'll see the pinned post, you click on the Teespring one, there's already T-shirts on there. But it will not have T-shirts with us on the event. We might have some of our extra ones from the Straz Center last year, but we won't have any of the other ones at the Crooked Thumb. You have to order those on Teespring. Because everybody's got different sizes, you know, and that's just too tricky. Natalie in Seminole, Shore Acres. Oh, Shore Acres in the house. How you doing, Connie? Dawn, good to see you. Steve, just wanted to say hi from 22,000 feet in the air. Steve is headed to Singapore. His daughter received quite an honor. And Steve is what? Steve, if you're at 22,000 feet, you better hold on, because that ain't high enough. You should be cruising at like 35 to 40,000 feet. If that little thing is saying 22,000, you better buckle up, buddy. So anyway, good to see you. Karen in Bradenton. Terry, good to see you. Kathleen in Bradenton. All right. So lots and lots of folks here. All right. So let's get through that specific stuff. We talked about the Crooked Thumb. This coming Saturday, 3 to 5. Hope you stop by. They're going to have the 4-packs for sale, where portions of the proceeds go to the American Red Cross. We'll have our Rule Number 7 stuff. It's just a great time. Sunday, 7 o'clock, Stormwatch 2024. Myself, all the weather team, lots of our reporters will be there. Nadine and Jackie Calloway. Nadine's anchoring the 11 tonight, by the way. And by the way, I think this may be a criteria for our 11 o'clock anchors, because Nadine is only about 2 inches taller than Wendy. So, and I've been talking about Wendy of late. Wendy's 5 foot, maybe. I think Nadine's 5'2". There's something about packing all that power in that little package. That's what I'm saying, because those are two dynamite women. And Nadine will be in for Wendy tonight. Wendy's doing some special stories, I think, that'll be running later. All right, Margaret, Palm Harbor, how you doing? So we're going to jump right in. We're going to talk about hurricane stuff here, okay? Because there's a couple of things I feel the need to show you. Tell you what, we will start. I'm going to change on the fly here. Hold on. Yikes. What is, oh, I'm attached here. Let me detach. Okay. Still good? Still good. All right. I'm going to go ahead and show you a couple things. We're going to talk tropics for good reason, because we're going to start to see some, not some action per se, but we're going to start to at least see the potential for some development, okay? And I want to go ahead and show you, and this is a map you've probably seen before, but I'm going to show it to you anyway, because it's important. So this is a look at where tropical systems develop in the month of June, okay? Typically, you see the Western Caribbean, the Gulf, and in the Atlantic. You don't typically see development way out in the tropical Atlantic yet. Taylor and Wesley Chapel, how you doing? So there is a look at that, okay? As if it's magical, look at the potential for a little something, something coming up over the next 2 or 3 weeks. Now, where did we just say that development could or would likely occur if there would be development? It would be this area right here, right? Okay, well, this is May 29th to June 4th. This is not a model. This is coming from the Global tropics weather hazard. This is from the CPC, the Climate Prediction Center, okay? And the Climate Prediction Center releases a weekly potential for development across the entire world. You get the Pacific out here, you get all this everywhere, right? Dry air continues to be in place for the tropical Atlantic, as is common in May, June, July. You get Saharan dust, and it quite often squashes any potential development. All right? Well, if you look at the following week, June 5th through June 11th, now let's look at this and highlight this. This is experimental. So this is a good 3 weeks out, right? 2 to 3 weeks out. So take it very much with a grain of salt, but this area is highlighting, as you see, in the Western Caribbean and in the Eastern Atlantic, the potential for development. Now, that looks very much like the area that we looked at right here, right? So you got that area in blue, and you got this area. So what does this show us? Shows us a bunch of nothing. Historically, and you're probably going to see this map. I'm going to post it as well, more of a preemptive strike, if you will, because there will be some spots that are going to be, there's nothing wrong with showing this stuff and explaining what it is. That's what we do. This is weather, right? We talk about it. But to take this and say, oh, you better look out for this, that is another animal entirely, and that's where I run into issues. But what we see here, let's go out on the limb and say, what if there would be some development out here in the Western Caribbean sometime in the week of June 5th to June 11th? Well, you also see this area extending into the Pacific. So more than likely, your prevailing wind pattern would be from this direction, and if anything were to develop, it would likely go in this direction. Because we all know that the hurricane season starts in the Pacific mid-May. So it would be very likely for development to occur in this area and move west. Now again, this is experimental only, and it's nothing to worry about, but I show you this because it is perfectly normal to see some sort of development in the Western Caribbean or the Gulf in this time of the year. It also needs to be remembered that 99% of the time, these are very weak systems. They're often rainmakers. And more often times than not, I remember systems like this getting close to Florida or the Gulf, the Northern Gulf, and being a beneficial rainmaker for areas that are hit by drought. Because quite often we're in drought conditions after May. So I've seen many a drought busted by tropical systems that develop in the Gulf or in the Western Caribbean because the juice just ain't there in early June for the energy for these to turn into significant, powerful hurricanes. It just ain't there this early in the season. Is it possible? Anything's possible. But historically speaking, you never see these type of systems ramp up into something noteworthy more than just a significant rainmaker. And I have seen a 10 to 15 inch rain in our area with an A storm because they're kind of weak and they meander and they bring some rain. So that certainly could happen. No red hoodie. So Maxine, I'm going to have to order these hoodies. I am going to have to order a red one. I don't even know if, you know what? All right, let's look and see if we even have them, because I honestly don't know if we even carry. But you know what? If we don't, we can make them. So let's see. Let's look at and see if we actually even have these in those colors. But I'm pretty sure I can have them made even if we don't. Let's see. Which ones do we want? Let's just say if we were to use one of the new ones. There's the t-shirts, by the way. I don't know. They got to be out here somewhere, but I'm going to look because I'm pretty sure I can figure out a way to get these in a green and a red and a yellow, depending on what's going on in the state of the tropics. Let's see. So let's look at this one. All right, see if it loads. There it is. And what colors? Let's see what colors we have. Edit or add designs? I don't know. You know what? I'll mess around with this later, but I'm pretty sure we can add a red. Let's look. Our computer's so slow. All right, here we go. Oh, yeah, there's a red. Red. Doesn't show red, but it lets you pick red. And there's a blue, and I can probably add a green mug. So yeah, so it looks like we can do it. So that sounds like a brilliant idea. To have something red, something green, and something yellow, depending on whatever's going on with the tropics. All right, Marie, how you doing? So, I don't care, it doesn't matter, David. Look, I've said this many, many a time. If people want to find, nowadays, everybody knows where everybody is. It's just the way it is, you know? So, and if somebody wants to find you, you'll find you. There's no way around it, right? They're always watching. We knew that from Monsters, Inc. 20 years ago. Always watching. So that's just what I'm saying. All right. They are not on Amazon, Beth. They're on Teespring. I don't know how to get these on Amazon, truth be told. I'm not sure. Anyway, I digress. Very normal to see development in the month of June in the Caribbean and the Gulf. It's usually very weak. It's a rainmaker, and quite often it can be beneficial rain. So if we were to see something develop over the next couple of weeks, there you have it. All right? If you were to have something over the next couple of weeks, I would not be the least bit surprised if we could see something in the Gulf. And if that's the case, then hey, you know, we get some development and some rain. But nothing pressing is the way to play this out. Do you have any men's short sleeve shirts? Absolutely we do, Anthony. We're still creating the page. We're still adding colors and designs. June 1, which is coming up, we will have everything listed with all our tees and our tanks and our hoodies and our hats, and everything else will be listed in various colors. And again, proceeds benefit Children's Miracle Network, Feeding Tampa Bay, and other things of that sort. So that is what's coming up over the next week. We have another week to get all our eggs in a row, our ducks in a row, rather. And which came first, the duck or the egg? And we'll know. Michael wants to buy one in every color to not get a hurricane. You know what? Whatever works. That is June. Look at July. Still pretty quiet. Even though we do get action in July, historically, August is when things really ramp up. And you can clearly see that. Now, why are we saying this year is going to be such an active year? There's several factors that are going on. Wanda, thank you very much, as always. Appreciate it. All the stars, again, same thing. Star proceeds benefit local charities, Children's Miracle Network, whatnot. So when you have a combination of, here's what's happening. Look, we've got a lot of warm water, extremely warm water in the areas where tropical systems develop. You've got that. You've got a La Nina, which reduces upper level wind hostility and creates a more likely environment for development. But let's be honest, have we had warm water before and a La Nina? Of course we have. So just because there's, the way you have to look at this is overall, if you were to take a big, broad picture of the hurricane season, yeah, we're going to get a lot of named storms. I think it's inevitable. I don't think anybody's disputing that. But the key to the forecast in all of these is what's happening on the short term. Because every week, there are little variables that come up, and that is what drives the forecasting of a specific tropical storm or a hurricane. I don't care if there's 30 named storms. I don't care if there's 25 named storms if they're all out in the middle of the ocean. And I'm not saying that they're all going to be there. But what I'm saying is it's meaningless how many form. What is significant is where they're going to go. And I repeat, if you're talking about the east coast of Florida, if you're talking about the Outer Banks of the Carolinas, if you're talking about the Florida Panhandle or the northern Gulf Coast, then you can find a relationship between increased activity and a higher probability of landfall in those places. The numbers do not support that for our area. The numbers do not support a higher risk of landfalling hurricanes in the Tampa Bay area based on an average, higher than average or lower than average season. It's been 103 years since we've been hit by a major hurricane. We are going to get another one. There is no doubt we are going to get another one. Are we overdue? Now that's something that could be debated. I argue we're not overdue. I argue that we are not overdue because we are not in an area prone to major development time after time again. Why? Pretty simple. These storms go north. They go toward the poles. Our worst case scenario is a storm coming in from the southwest between Cuba and the Yucatan. They want to go north. They will go north toward the Panhandle or the Northern Gulf unless something hooks it into Florida. Usually that something is a trough or a front. How many fronts or troughs do we get in July and August and into early September? Not a ton. We get them, but not a ton. So the storm is more likely to go north into the Panhandle. So if you have a higher number of developing systems, then yes, in those spots that are more prone, they're going to be more likely to see a landfalling storm. For our area, the reason we want everybody to be prepared is not because it's going to be an active season. You should be prepared every year. Because even if we only have 4 named storms, statistically speaking, we're just as likely to get hit on that year than any other year. Again, just going with the numbers. So what we don't want to happen is people, it's been this many years, we're going to be okay. And I get that. Hurricane amnesia is a thing. Even though Ian is fresh in the minds for a lot of people from Fort Myers, it isn't as much for people in the Tampa Bay area or even Irma, right? So my point is, you do not want to be the people at Home Depot 2 days out before a storm comes. You just don't. Because you'll pull your hair out, it'll be mayhem, stuff will be sold out, and that is why we try to encourage people to get ready beforehand, so you've got that part of it done. Because there's nothing harder than deciding where you're going to go or what you're going to do if you don't have a place to go or you don't have the means to stay home because you're not prepared. I will tell you, we just did a story a couple days ago. There's some experts who say between 200 and 300% of the people in Florida who evacuate are over-evacuating. In other words, they don't need to leave where they are, or they don't need to go as far as they go. You hide from the wind, you run from the water. And if you are not in a flood zone area, odds are you will stay put. Because even the devastation from Ian, the majority of that was no more than a couple hundred yards from the Gulf of Mexico. The majority of the fatalities and the flooding was within a couple hundred yards of that Gulf. Inland areas got the wind, and certainly, look, we live in Florida. It goes with the territory. We are going to have big storms. We are going to have hurricanes. If you can't live with that possibility, you should not be living in Florida. I mean, I say that in all sincerity. If you can't accept the fact that you're going to be facing hurricanes near us, the statistics are 1 every 4 years a hurricane gets within 50 miles of our coastline. 1 out of 4 years. So if you can't live with that upheaval, this is not the place for you to be. If you're okay with those odds because you're prepared and you're going to be ready to ride it out, then that's what I think we're trying to get across. So if you run from the water, Renee, you would just want to be far enough where storm surge would not impact you. You literally could go 2 miles inland because more people die from storm surge and freshwater flooding than anything else in a hurricane. The winds historically are not as deadly as the water. You hide from the wind, you run from the water. If you're in a flood zone A and you're right on the water and a storm's coming, you got to get out of Dodge. And you know that because when you bought that house, You knew you were on the water and there was only a matter of time before a storm's going to come. And if you don't know that, what were you thinking? I mean, let's be honest. If you live in the Gulf of Mexico, do you think there's some magical dome that's not going to impact us? It's going to happen at some point. It is. So you need to be ready in advance so you don't have to think, should I do this, should I do this? That's all taken care of. Our Storm Watch special runs this Sunday at 7 o'clock. We kind of give you ideas on how to handle insurance beforehand. Nadine is an expert on that. You've got our weather team talking about the technology that's available to help you, where you go. But Renee, you bring up a great question because a lot of people think I got to go 150 miles north or inland. No, you really don't. But you got to find a place to stay. And maybe 150 miles or 200 miles is the closest hotel you could find. So again, plan early for those situations. But most of the time, you do not need to go that far inland. You just need to get away from where the surge would be. All right? And then once we get into November, the odds go down, but not for us. October and November, we still can see storms in the Western Caribbean because in October, if a storm does develop in the Western Gulf and moves north, it does have a chance to hook into Florida because it's more likely to run into a front or a trough by then. Makes sense, right? So, and then there's a look at November and December. I feel like I have to sneeze. Hold on. Oh, it went away. Yeah, you're right. Bridget, don't go to Orlando because that's where they always end up going. Punta Gorda with Charlie, Irma, Ian, they cut across and go right into Orlando. That has happened so many times. But it's safer than being in the storm surge, that's for sure. So, and Renee, you're right, losing power. People aren't, they forget. All right, so you have a hurricane that comes in, you think about the wind and you think about how dangerous it is, but a lot of people don't think what it's like in the middle of summer or early fall when it's 90 degrees out and the humidity is 90% and you have no air conditioning, you have no electricity. It's miserable. And it lasts sometimes for weeks. So these are the things you need to prepare for. You need to be planning ahead where you might go if you have no power for weeks. And if you want to evacuate because of that possibility. These are all things. So at the end of the day, I showed you this other map because, the models are now beginning to pick up what they should. Early June storms are not unusual. They quite often develop in the Western Caribbean and then go into the Pacific. If they were to go north into the Gulf, they're usually quite a bit weaker. So there it is. How you doing, Allison? That's the potential of the second week in June. Again, it's really just nothing to worry about. The water temperature is obviously a huge player in all this right now, and the water temperatures are very, very high. They were very high last year. We've certainly run into high sea surface temperatures before. But all the ingredients are coming together to make this a very active season. And we are all quite confident that it is going to be an active season. But the path of individual storms cannot be predicted more than a week out, because there's all these little variables that are going to come into determining where that goes. Positioning of an upper level low, positioning of an area of high pressure, interaction with land masses. These are things that cannot be forecast more than a week out. So just because we know there's going to be a lot of storms out there does not mean we have any idea if there's an area that's more likely to be hit than another. Now, last year in our El Nino, we knew that the Western Caribbean would probably be cut off, and it was. There were no developing storms in the Caribbean last year. In a La Nina, we would expect to see far more storms develop in the Caribbean. But we still don't know, does that mean it goes into Central America? Do they go into Cuba? Do they go into the Gulf? All these things are impacted by small little mesoscale features that can only be predicted a few days out. Big Bermuda High can push a storm out in the east coast of the U.S., but when it comes to the Gulf and the Caribbean, there's all these little small variables that come into play. Holiday weekend forecast, lots of heat, very little rain expected right on through Memorial Day. Could see a little more humidity returning by Memorial Day and early next week with a chance of late day storms. Hope we will see you on Thursday night for the next edition for Streamers on DPL. Okay, so Streamers are gone. And now, Chris, it's actually in Safety Harbor where the Indian burial grounds are. Tarpon Springs is St. Nicholas protecting. Safety Harbor is the Indian burial grounds. So, I love this sweatshirt. I'm a creature of habit. I'll wear the same t-shirt, gym shirts, whatever, every day. I am not a high maintenance guy when it comes to dress, clothing and whatnot. You know, you guys get it. It's hoodie time. I wear my hoodie because it's comfortable in the studio and it's just the way it is. So, all right. So like I said, we are going to have our special on Sunday. All right, 7 o'clock. Crooked Thumb, Saturday, 3 to 5. Hope you come by. A big raffle for a monstrous gift raffle box thing with lots of gift cards and lots of coolers and lots of Rule Number 7 stuff and all that, and a behind-the-scenes tour of the station. Ooh, so all this stuff going on, all right, as that fundraiser. And we'll also be having Rule Number 7 stuff to get there as well. Adam, you're going to see a little bit more of a southeast flow in Miami. I think maybe you got a little bit better chance of some storms if you're very lucky. So thank you, Andorra. Very kind. So let's get back quickly. Let's talk real quick. I went through the forecast, though. It's just going to be sunny. There are a couple of storms out there right now, though. And then I think we're covered. And I'm going to go watch the Celtics and the Pacers play because that game is just about to tip off as we speak. Okay, here's the radar. Let's go ahead and take this. Whoop. And whoop. Yes, thank you, Nancy. Great reminder. June 1st to June 14th, Florida sales tax exemption for disaster prep. Awesome. Douglas, you will be fine on Saturday night. Nothing to worry about. You are good. Rainy season technically starts about now, but I think it usually doesn't kick in until the second week in June for us. So there are a few showers in Citrus County right now, a few showers in northern Polk, but unfortunately for most of Pasco, Hernando, Pinellas, Hillsborough, just not a lot. All right? So thank you very much for stopping by, my friends. And we will be back on Thursday night with another edition of Denis Phillips Live. We'll see if the models are picking up anything more interesting. But we're going to be here all summer long, whether it's a blue hoodie or a green one or a yellow one or a red one. We will be here for you 24/7. The team is committed to keep you guys safe and to get you prepared, because that's what we're pushing right now. Don't wait till the last minute. I know it's human nature. We often do it, but it's going to be an active season. The odds are there will be a storm within 50 miles of our coastline. Doesn't mean a major storm, but there will be more than likely a named storm within 50 miles of our area. So let's get ready now. We got this together, and we will get through everything just fine without the stress and the hype that you might see elsewhere. So have a great night. Thanks for tuning in, and we will see you on Thursday night's edition of Denis Phillips Live. See you guys.
We the lazy declare that we will recline when we feel inclined. And yes, we feel inclined.
We answered our kids' questions all day. It's our time to prioritize, no priorities.
Why?
Because
We put in back-to-back doubles. So now we'll be putting in extra OT right here.
We've checked off our to-do list.
Now we're checking off our to-don't list.
We the lazy are taking back lazy.
By getting comfy on our lazy boy furniture.
Lazy Boy. Long live the lazy.